let's continue the discussion with our panelists who join us now. Dan Perry's here, former AP Regional Chief for the Middle East and Europe, publisher of Ask Questions Later on Substack. Joel Rubin's also here, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, author of the Briefing book on Substack. Gentlemen, welcome and thanks for coming on. Dan, we'll start with you. Just your reaction there to really the multi-front that Israel has continued to take on since the October 7th attack when it comes to Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorist organizations.
Well, the war truly has been calamitous for all sides, especially clearly in terms of loss of life on the Gaza side. But on the other hand, if we're to search for silver linings and indeed to take stock if the war ends sometime in coming weeks, then one of the positive things is the weakening of these militias that Iran had arrayed around the region, undermining the sovereignty of a swath of Arab countries from Iraq to Lebanon, as we've seen with Hezbollah, to obviously the Houthis in Yemen, and more and more. In the case of Lebanon, a lot of things go together. Hezbollah has been weakened. Its weakening has helped cause the fall of the Bashar al-Assad regime, which they propped up in Syria. The loss of that regime has eliminated their superhighway of weapons coming in from Iran, and Iran itself has been weakened. All this has emboldened Lebanon to actually step up and say, yeah, we want to disarm Hezbollah, which is wonderful because the entire Arab League backs this. And this entire shift compelled the Arab League 2 months ago, and this is very important, to call on Hamas to disarm. That includes Qatar, their erstwhile backer and funder. So one of the positive outcomes of this war is the apparent delegitimization of this freakish a policy of Iran which the Arabs acquiesced to, accepting militias all over the place, causing great damage. And if we go back to Hamas, in the case of Israel, if Hamas is gone, Israel might again contemplate taking risks, for example, in territorial pullouts from the West Bank. Without Hamas gone, there's just no way it's going to happen, no matter how many countries recognize Palestine.
And Joel, I want to get your take on that, on Zach Ander's package there about just how Lebanon has been a big part of this, and now to Dan's point there about how this has been, how they've been weakened in some of these other countries. Your takeaway from this is this now Hamas weakened to a point where they're ready to make a deal?
Yeah, John, look, Hamas was counting 2 years ago on October 7th on having a massive response by Hezbollah, by Iran, by the Houthis, and by Assad, quite frankly, as well, to support them in their attack on Israel. And that did not come. Now, it came in bits, as Zach mentioned, but it did not come in full force because of the concern of how Israel could respond in kind. And we've seen now over the past 2 years Israel's response, which has been to devastate Hezbollah, which led to the collapse of Assad. The hitting of the Houthis in Yemen also is very significant. The hitting of the nuclear sites in Iran, very significant. And so Hamas not only has brought devastation on them and on the Palestinian people in Gaza, but it has also, quite frankly, opened the door to the destruction of the whole enterprise that the Iranian regime created to influence and infiltrate and frankly destroy multiple Arab countries. And I agree with Dan's point. I'll finish with this. The idea that Hezbollah will not give up its arms to the sovereign government of Lebanon should be an affront to everyone who believes in sovereignty and believes that the Lebanese people should have the right to determine their own future. This is Iran telling the Lebanese people they don't have that right. And I think it's very important that we, the United States, continue to support the process of disarming Hezbollah. And the Hamas attacks from 2 years ago did open up that door to this situation right now, which could be a benefit to the Lebanese people.
Yeah, well, the U.S. sent a clear message through Operation Midnight Hammer going after the Iran nuclear sites, right? So you'd think these other mini regimes would also be taking note of that. Finally, Dan, I wanted to ask you about one of the points in the deal, the exchange of course, the, in many cases, civilian hostages, some alive, some dead, for the Palestinian prisoners that Israel had been holding, some accused of horrendous crimes here. Where do those prisoners end up going? Do you see them leaving Israel and Gaza altogether? And would other Arab nations welcome them in any capacity?
Well, I don't know if they'd welcome them. They might agree to receive them. No one really wants them. If they're released, the likelihood based on past precedent has been that they go to Gaza. Of course, Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind of October 7th, was one of those people in a deal that 12, 13 years ago, released, and he ended up causing quite a bit of damage. This is simply a price Israel has agreed to pay, and I suspect they'll look for countries to receive them in exile far, far away, maybe Indonesia. But the likelihood is they stay in a region, and who knows, they might end up falling out of a window at some point in the near future. I really, really cannot say. But Hamas clearly is going to dangle the release of the hostages before the Israelis in hopes of getting them to abandon the main condition beside that, which is their disarming. And I have to say, the fact that Qatar received the sweetheart NATO-style deal from the U.S. looks logical to me only as a payment in advance for them putting the squeeze on Hamas in a maximal way to agree to disarm. If Hamas does not agree to disarm, I don't see these talks going anywhere, because Israel, I don't think, will abandon that demand, and frankly, they shouldn't. Whether it's best achieved in this way or a different way is open to discussion, but Hamas cannot emerge from this war still as an armed militia.
We shall see those talks underway, and we'll wait to see what the word is and whether or not Hamas will, in fact, disarm. As President Trump said, that is a big part of the deal, as well as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Dan Perry, Joel Rubin, thank you. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.